portion one of your taxing community and not to another when there is a consistent request for it. I do not know the answer. Variables mentioned in the last meeting, such as population, interest, and other factors I may not be aware of must be weighed. Again, I ask that you consider all factors and make public the decision in reason. I know I am not alone in my desire for this opportunity for Tinley Park High School. One of the reasons I know I'm not alone is because this year my 6th grader was a member of the Central Middle School volleyball team. Each game I sat with a group of parents and we would often discuss the lack of opportunity our boys would have to continue the sport in high school. In addition, I know that Arbor Park, which is another large feeder school for Tinley Park High School, also runs a boys volleyball program, and there are parents there who wish for the same opportunity. If the board desires, these parents are willing to come to the January board meeting to express this. Or would it be helpful to receive a petition of those desiring the program? I'd be happy to look into that option as well. My sophomore nephew Nathan has played club volleyball for several years. During the high school volleyball season, club volleyball ceases play. I believe they are not allowed to play during the high school season. So while all of his club teammates are able to play for their high school teams, Nathan is left to wait, unable to even try out for his boys' volleyball team. Obviously, there are greater hardships. However, I want you to consider the missed opportunity for Nathan and others like him. He is not able to be part of a volleyball high school team. High school teams connect you to the school, they make you feel part of something bigger, and provide a social life outside the classroom walls. They provide organized, healthy competition and teach life skills such as teamwork, good sportsmanship, and dedication. In addition, I can tell you firsthand, as I just got done helping my seniors throughout college education, that activities in sports are of great importance when applying to colleges. Not to mention the opportunity to play in college or scholarship offerings. I believe it is too late to participate in IHSA volleyball for this year, but please consider allowing a club volleyball program to start. This at least would build a foundation for volleyball, and it would allow the board to evaluate the interest. I know that Tinley has the equipment and gym space. I understand that transportation is a huge cost, and so I ask you to look into how this could be overcome. I am grateful that the board is exercising fiscal responsibility. I am also grateful the board offers young people opportunities that can enrich their lives. I am aware you are building new field houses, and I hope you'll consider boys volleyball as an offering to be played in them at Tinley. Thank you for listening, and thank you in advance for your consideration.
Anyone else that would like to ask
Good evening, board. My name is Java Rogers, and I want to thank the young lady who just spoke, because I think what she said is a very, very dear point. I'm a graduate actually of Hillcrest High School, and my issue, I'm very excited about Hugh House school. See, I appreciate it very much. They are very much needed in all the schools. However, my concern is this. Yes, I do think some part needs a volleyball program with this. However, I think if we're going to put another program at one school, we should make sure that all the programs at all the schools are equally funded and are equitable on some level. I don't think any school in the district should have more programs than any other school. So I hope that you all table this issue tonight so that it can be brought to all 4 schools, so that all the parents could be able to have more input into the decision that the board is actually going to ultimately make, if that is possible. Because I do think equal funding, equitable funding, and equitable programs will not only help Tinley Park, but it will enrich all schools in the district. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much.
anyone else? We'll move on to reports by the superintendent.
Freedom of Information Act request since our last board meeting. Mr. Nathan Mihelic of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association asked for the name, title, email address of any teachers or administrators who were retired in 2017. This request has been completed. Ms. Jacqueline Sessa of Anvia Corporation in Seattle, Washington requested a list of every vendor, term, annual contract, with future expiration date, including the title, description, expiration date, and awarded vendor name for each awarded contract. This request has been completed. Over the next 3 days, our students will be taking their final exams, and Friday will be the last day of school before winter break. On behalf of the Board of Education, administration, and all staff in Bremen District 228, I'd like to thank our entire school community for a successful first semester and wish everybody a happy and safe holiday season. School resumes on January 9th, and we look forward to another semester of great things from our students and staff. Thank you.
Any board members have anything?
I can't imagine how busy it is in the school because I've had the opportunity to attend several things in the past month, including the Excel Thanksgiving here at Bremen. The kids in the Excel program made the entire turkey dinner and decorated, and it was unbelievably well put together. I understand they worked on it starting in December of the previous year, so obviously a lot of work went into that. I also visited the 4 schools during the Christmas senior lunch. All the seniors were quite pleased to be there receiving their dinner. I tell them, you know, with the taxes they pay, it's probably the most expensive dinner they have, but they enjoy it nonetheless. I also was able to attend Madrigal dinner for the first time at Oak Forest. I brought my 8-year-old granddaughter, who was thrilled with the addition of the Pokemon search. She had a lot of ideas about how that was happening in Old England. And she told the jester at the end of the show that she thought he was just fabulous. So it was a great performance, as was the Tinley Park Band and Choir concert. And the Bremen Choir performed at the Lothian Park District for their annual Christmas event. So you guys are really busy. And you do a great job at each one of them.
I definitely will echo Evelyn. I think my calendar was very busy and booked. Not only attending my own children's events, but some of these other events. I definitely want to say thank you to the teachers and staff of the Dynasty and Excel programs for hosting the Thanksgiving feast and providing an invitation to the board. I also had the opportunity to attend both Thanksgiving feasts and meet wonderful students like Brandon and Pedro and listen to them tell me how they contribute to the dinner and also their favorite parts of the Thanksgiving feast with their families. I also was able to attend the senior citizen luncheon at all 4 of the schools. I think this was a great opportunity to see the community and the schools come together for this great event. Sat down with Irene and our friend Millie, who ended up winning our raffle and won an Oak Forest wrestling t-shirt. So I thought that was so awesome.
She was excited.
She was very excited about that. Next, I also had the opportunity to visit some winter concerts. I want to congratulate Mrs. Freeman at Hillcrest and Mr. Salgado at Bremen for hosting a wonderful program. Some of my favorites that were being played at Hillcrest were the Jingle Bell Rock, and Mr. Salgado's Bremen choir sang La Nanita Nena, which was a beautiful version and piece that was performed. But I have to say, the Christmas Walrus stole the show. If you guys have not had an opportunity to see that, I have some video. I thought it was great, and I've never sang a Christmas sing-along with the Christmas Walrus, but it's definitely first time for everything. It's a great opportunity. Last but not least, we also had the opportunity to attend the ISBE Joint Conference. I had the pleasure of sitting on various panel sessions to not only better myself as a board member, but find opportunities that District 228 can gain from. Some of the panels that I took advantage of were the multi-year budgeting and forecasting, pension reform and the impacts on school districts today, and school safety. Thank you.
I was able to attend the ISB III conference as well. There were over 82% of the state public educators, whether they were administrators or officers or board members, were able to attend the conference this year. I was able to attend the pre-conference workshops. The purpose of the III conference is for professional development and to get to know the schools, what's happening in different schools, and how to better yourself and your district, your different districts and school districts. I attended the Myers-Briggs pre-conference full-day workshop, which told about performance type indicators. Get to know yourself, to thy own self be true. Find out more about yourself as well as those who work with you. It's good to know those who labor among you, and it was a fascinating, engaging, one of the most engaging workshops that I've attended. There was a lot of one-on-one contact and getting to know those who were around us. And this offered a great opportunity to understand the people that you work with and how to work best with those people, and how to bring out the best in each person. On Friday, I attended the general session. The speaker was Maui Eskedam, and he was a refugee originally from Ethiopia, who also migrated across the lands to different lands, and he tells of his story of how he came from having nothing to coming to the U.S., living in Illinois, and being able to have the opportunity of a quality education, and how that has brought him to his success of being a wonderful graduate and being able to have a college education. Maui Eskedam has also brought back and paid it forward and given back to his community through the various different information and services that he's offered. He has written several books. One of the ones that I was able to receive was Powerful Educator, How to Inspire Student Growth. And in this book, it inspires different educators how to grow and how to work with the students that you have. He offers several inspirational tidbits of his success and the trials that he has gone through in life and life lessons. Some of the programs that he offers, he's a public speaker as well, as he has several programs that have inspired several people all over Illinois and the United States. He is an international speaker. He talks about leadership and success, courses for students, college and career readiness, what he calls super ELL, critical thinking and study skills. And I was very impressed with this. He also wanted to, gave the opportunity for a grant that we did apply for, and we're looking forward to getting to implement some of the programs. He also has an online feature that he is offering. So hopefully we'll be looking forward to getting that grant to provide more leadership, career readiness for our students as well. And this program has been very successful in several areas. The president of ISBE highly recommends it, and I've also been able to speak with him briefly, and he has great opportunity for growth. And I've started reading one of his books. It's called Beatles and Angels. It talks about his personal struggle. The General Assembly started off with what I was very impressed with was their jazz band. One of the area high schools in the state of Illinois was able to perform, and I really like that opportunity. The jazz band performed, the color guard and the drill team honored some of our veterans, featured our veterans. This year they had an amazing exhibit of artwork that had been going from, I believe they had first displayed in Bloomington Normal, and it's from different area high school students all over the state of Illinois, and this artwork was phenomenal. It looked like professional artists in all different genres of art. They had the string art, they had paintings, they had drawings, pastels, all different art was exhibited at the conference. And so I was very impressed with their fine arts exhibits and contributions. On the 19th, I visited the homeroom. So this year they had a lot of different things going on at the conference that they offered. They had a homeroom where you got to see about all the offerings of ISBE. General session on Saturday with Joan London. And she spoke about her time and her struggle through and how she got to success and the different things and the trials of motherhood, balancing motherhood and workload. And she was a really good speaker. How she started balancing work and family and her determination, her basic speech was, don't give up. Whatever you're doing, whatever you want in life, your goals, don't give up. And try everything in your power to reach your goals. On Saturday, I also attended carousel panels with our very own Otis, Dean Otis, Otis Lane of Student Services. He's one of the deans at our high school, and he gave a presentation on Senate Bill 100. I also got to go to several other panels on that day as well. Very informative, very good panels. There was great interest. I think the tables were absolutely full. So on Sunday, I was able to attend a safety and security seminar with, not remember his name, Michael, I believe. Michael Dorn. He's the national safety expert who's known internationally, has done work with Washington on Homeland Security and has done work with many of the high schools and schools and making sure that they ensure safety. Last bit of information, our South Cook division meeting for our school district will be meeting in February at 8:30 at Brookwood Middle School at 8:30 a.m. for our winter breaks.
You know, I'd just like to wish everybody a great holiday season. Be safe. Go do something. Don't think about the district. Have a good time. Come back, recharge, ready to go. Thank you for all what you guys do for our district. Really appreciate it.
I'm not going to go down the list and talk about everything that I did that not my goal. I just wanted to say, Hillcrest, I'm so impressed with the family reading night again, the amount of response that it got, and the idea of the, I don't know what, student leaders, athlete leaders?
Consulting.
So they created a group to keep the athletes engaged during their off season, and the kids' participation with the younger kids was nice to watch. From all the other activities too, I have to give kudos to our administrators and teachers. Kept hearing time after time after time from students about how this teacher helped them do this, or this administrator always knows their name. And so it's really heartwarming to know how the kids really view us as a family, their second family. I appreciate that. Also want to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday. Take time to relax. And thank you. We'll move on to committee reports, starting with finance. Ms. Russler.
All right, on Monday, December 12th at 7 p.m., our finance committee met. The meeting was called to order at 7:02. Present were myself, Mr. Cannon, Mrs. Camper, and Mr. O'Malley. Absent were none. Guests were Mr. Dupdike. For new business, December bills, interest, funds, deposits. Those present reviewed and discussed the December bills, interest, expenditures, and deposits. These items were also reviewed by the superintendent, who, along with the finance committee, will recommend full board approval at the December Board of Education meeting. Over $5,000 purchase orders, there were none. Career Development System, CDS bills. Those present reviewed the CDS December bills totaling $89,312.09. These items were also reviewed by the superintendent, who, along with the finance committee, will recommend full board approval at the December Board of Education meeting. 2016 aggregate levy. The finance committee reviewed and discussed the 2016 aggregate levy, which did not change from the tentative levy that the board approved in November. The 2016 levy of $54,290,200, which is the total cap funds, will be less than a 5% increase over last year's levy and will not require a public hearing prior to the adoption of the final levies. The superintendent, along with the finance committee, is recommending full board approval of the 2016 aggregate levies, along with the associated resolutions. Tax abatement resolution. The finance committee reviewed and discussed the resolutions pertaining to the two remaining phases of the Country Club Hills development. This is for Walmart and Country Club Plaza, located at 167th and Pulaski. In prior years, the Board of Education signed agreements abating 50% of the taxes for a 10-year period on these properties. Walmart has 1 year of abatement remaining. 2 years ago, the board entered into the new 10-year agreement with the Country Club Plaza, abating 40% of the taxes that has 7 years remaining after this year. The superintendent, along with the finance committee, recommends full board approval of these abatement resolutions. Next meeting will be scheduled Monday, January 9th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center, and our meeting was adjourned at 7:14 p.m. Thank you.
Ms. Camper.
Thank you. Teaching and Learning Committee met on December 13th. The meeting was called to order at 6:34. Present were myself, Ms. Stearns, Ms. Gleason, and Dr. Williams. Absent were non-guests were Mrs. Jones. The committee discussed overnight field trip requests. The committee reviewed 2 requests from Tinley Park for Operation Snowball and the varsity baseball team, and 3 requests from Oak Forest High School for varsity baseball and varsity softball. The committee is recommending all requests to the full board for approval. The committee reviewed the calendar for the next school year. Dr. Williams pointed out a couple of changes compared to this school year. First, state testing will be on Tuesday, April 10th, 2018, which will also be a school improvement day. Second, we will return to school the day after Easter so that students will take their second semester final exams before Memorial Day. The committee is recommending the calendar to the full board for approval. Dr. Williams shared with the committee from the district's Type 2 pre- and mid-assessments, which are aligned to Common Core reading standards 1, 7, and 8. The average scores on these assessments is about the same as last year's results, and students are on track to show growth on these standards. The committee was also given an overview of the SAT suite of assessments, along with building results from fall testing. Results from the reading section of the PSAT were shared with the committee, as about 50% of the test is aligned to reading standards 1, 7, and 8. Further discussion centered on how the district can use the data to improve student performance, along with plans for providing juniors with SAT test prep after winter break. Decision Net. Dr. Williams gave the committee a preview of the district's data dashboard and the indicators that are areas of focus through the use of widgets or data displays. Attendance, enrollment, discipline, and high-stakes assessments are currently being displayed. However, the district will be able to modify and add widgets as they continue to receive training. A small group of administrators and teachers have received initial training on the dashboard. Their task is to explore the widgets and reports and identify any issues with the data before we roll it out to more staff in January. The next meeting will be held on January 10th at 6:30 at the Ad Center, and the meeting adjourned at 7:58 p.m.
New business, Mr. O'Malley?
Thank you, Mr. Board members. Item 10.1 pertains to our bills. The addendum to the bills, our payroll, and our CDS bills. Finance Committee, along with the Superintendent, recommend these to the Board this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ressler, second by Mr. Keating. Is there any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones? Aye. Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.2 pertains to our 2016 aggregate levy and the associated resolutions. I would ask that Ms. Camworth read the motion that is being recommended by the Superintendent and the Finance Committee.
I move to approve the certification of tax levy for the 2016 taxes in the amount of $54,290,200 as presented, and the related resolutions pertaining to the 2016 tax levy. These items will be submitted to the Cook County Clerk's Tax Extension Office, where the amounts to be levied for bond and interest will be added.
Second.
By Ms. Campbell, second by Ms. Wrestler. Any discussion? Discussion.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Mrs. Wrestler? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson? Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Item 10.3 pertains to the 2 tax abatement resolutions, one being for Walmart in its final year, and the second being for Country Club Plaza, which will have 7 years remaining after this year. The Finance Committee and the Superintendent are recommending these resolutions to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
By Ms. Wrestler, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Wrestler? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.4 pertains to our bond resolution. The Finance Committee and Superintendent again recommend this resolution to the full board, and I'd ask Ms. Camworth if you would mind.
I move to approve resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $52 million taxable general obligation limited tax school bonds of the district for the purpose of paying claims against the district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
Second.
By Ms. Campbell, second by Ms. Wrestler. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Mrs. Wrestler? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye. Dr. Williams?
Thank you. Item 10.5 is the 27-18 school year calendar. School will begin on Thursday, August 17th, with a Teacher Institute Day, and end on Friday, May 25th, 2018, if no emergency days are used. The Teaching and Learning Committee, along with the Superintendent, are recommending the 17-18 school calendar for full board approval.
So moved.
Second. By Ms. Gleason, second by Ms. Stearns. Any discussion?
Yes. I would just ask Dr. Williams if you could explain the process of how you come up with the calendar. And I think I asked this last time. Who's involved, who has input?
So we generally try to start school around the same time every year. One of the things we have to take into consideration, because we have so many semester classes, that we try to balance out the number of days that end up in first semester versus second semester. And so that could drive when we start school, especially with Christmas floating, depending on where that falls. So that's generally where we start. Then we put in things like parent-teacher conference. Sometimes we'll get feedback from the staff about the Institute Day, which we moved to around parent-teacher conference, or teachers suggested, hey, why don't we do parent-teacher conference in October? We tried that this year. It was very successful. So we get feedback from the JFA. So once we put together a draft, I send it to the JFA president. I also send it to the best president. They share it with their respective houses. We get feedback back from that. Then I bring it to this meeting. And then report.
Thank you for that explanation.
All right, Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye. Item 10.6 are overnight field trip requests. We have 2 from Tinley Park, Operation Snowball, to attend a leadership conference in January, and the baseball team to attend a tournament in Alabama. Both programs will have no loss of school days, and supported either with student funding and fundraisers. Oak Forest High School baseball team actually has 2 requests. One is to do a competition at O'Fallon High School over the weekend in March, and then attending the same baseball tournament in Alabama. And the softball team would like to do a tournament in Barrington in May. The softball team would lose a half a day on Friday. The Teaching and Learning Committee, along with the Superintendent, recommend the approval of these overnight field trips.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
Mrs. Jones, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion?
I just think these are great opportunities for our kids and our coaches, team building and bonding. It's great opportunities.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Camp aye. Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Item 10.7 is consideration from the board to abolish a resolution established in 2012 that would not add any additional co-curricular activities or expansion requests.
So move.
Second.
What is the motion?
To abolish the
To
resolution.
abolish the current resolution that denied expansion.
So abolishing, and I think I just want to make sure that there's clarity, especially for our community members that came and spoke today. Thank you very much for your input. It is very insightful for both perspectives. But I just want to make sure that abolishing the resolution doesn't automatically mean boys volleyball.
The current resolution says we're not going to consider any expansion at all. So if this resolution is abolished, then each sport that comes across would be considered on a case-by-case basis. I would recommend that the administration do research within the building and then make a presentation to me, and then we would consider the financial pieces. And if I feel it's reasonable, fiscally responsible, and worthy of consideration, I would bring it to the board if it's a new sport.
That's if we abolish it.
No, this isn't.
If we abolish this resolution.
You would like, that would be your procedure of how you would deal with it.
That's how I would recommend we move forward if this.
Yeah, because this definitely does not mean that we have to, if we abolish it, that doesn't mean that we have to approve everything. Like you're saying, we can at least look into it, right? At this point, with the resolution being in place, we don't even look into it.
Correct, okay.
And this is not just sports.
This would be
You keep
clubs.
saying sports, but it's any clubs.
Clubs,
or
activities.
at the school.
That our principals would say would be worthy of consideration.
Okay, yeah, all right, because I just want to make sure that was the situation. I hear that, there's looking for approval from the board for boys volleyball, but that wouldn't necessarily be the process, and it's not really us that's approving boys volleyball. It still has to go through a process, through the process of you,
Well,
finance committee, everything, so,
technically, as a sport, boys volleyball is on the books.
okay.
So it's just a matter of
Expanding.
what schools have it. There was a time warp there where the board was really into maintaining or reducing the deficit. So at that time, the board stepped in and said, we're not considering anything a unified front. It's a little bit different situation now than we were $12 million in debt. So we can still make those considerations. So
I was actually on the board when this resolution was passed, and as Dr. Kendall said, those were the reasons. Was also, however, on the board when boys volleyball was initiated at Oak Forest, and it was at that point, again, we were in a different financial situation, and there was an interest at the community. I totally understand the lady who spoke from Tinley Park and from Hillcrest. I do believe in equity across the board for all schools, but as somebody spoke, and I think both of the ladies said, the schools are different, and we know that too. They each have their own personality, if you will. Mike, when we passed this resolution in 2012, the state was we were getting nothing from the state, and although the state's not in a great position now, we're not at 40. We're getting more than 40%, are we not, Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Can you speak to that percentage?
Yeah, sure. At that time, the proration, we knew that the state was in dire situation, and the projected financial outlook from the state was very poor. Since then, it's not an ideal situation, but we're certainly better than we were back in 2012. In fact, they eliminated the proration, so that we're now getting our full entitlement for general state aid. So that has been a considerable factor that's helped the district as we move forward back when that resolution was passed.
And as Mrs. Ressler pointed out, abolishing this does not not open the floodgates that we can do everything. I would, there has to be some kind of process that the administration would take. Because I know we've been asked to do bass fishing and lacrosse and, and hockey and
Gymnastics.
yes, and, and you'd like to do it all, but you can't.
Right, you'd like to have all the different groups and interests there. I would caution the board to adding all of those because it's going to drive that deficit in the wrong direction, certainly.
But that said, this is, I don't, it's not really unique, but I know that the feeder programs have changed and added boys volleyball. I know in Midlothian they have it also. So, there may be interest at Bremen. I agree that there should be some kind of a survey of because sports change over time. What kids are interested in changes. I know, coming from the park world, that lacrosse is an up-and-coming sport. But again, that's a starting from square one. We had nothing. At least with volleyball, having girls volleyball, we at least have volleyball standards and that kind of thing. So I just want to clarify that my position really is based on the history, how the district has changed, and how our I think this does speak to our financial stability. The change in our bond rating, all those things they're definitely pointing in a different direction than they were in 2012.
I think it also, a big factor in this is that a school has it and several others don't. So that's,
The program exists, but not at all buildings. That's a unique situation.
And Dr. Kennedy, you indicated that you did meet with the athletic directors at each school and kind of have sort of an indication now of what the real interest is at this point. Obviously, informally, there would be more, but right now, you're showing that there is, or your meetings indicating that there is a huge interest for the volleyball team, and possibly at Bremen as well.
I would say there's a strong, consistent message out of Tinley that they're interested in. I don't have a feeling out of Bremen just because they haven't talked doesn't mean there's not interest.
Right.
So we'll have to dig into that a little bit deeper.
Hillcrest several years ago.
Hillcrest we have not heard, and so we just need to take a bigger
See,
look.
we had that parent-teacher student advisory group.
Well, and I guess it's difficult, if you ask people, they're certainly going to be interested in it. Are they interested and committed?
Right.
I think that's another piece that we have to consider.
Right, to spend
Do you
money
want
and
that?
then
Everybody's
form
going to say yes. Does that mean they're really going to be involved?
Just for my own, what season is boys volleyball?
Spring.
So it's up against
It's up against
Baseball.
baseball and track.
that itself.
The figures, those numbers on the different sports availabilities at the different schools. I like to see that. When we have the clubs and the sports activities.
Opportunities for
Opportunities for schools.
So by repealing this previous rule, how are we communicating this to each of the schools? Is it open invitation, hey guys, go back and tell us what you're interested in or what you got feedback in? How are we making this opportunity available to say now the board is considering co-curricular activities, regardless if it's sports, club, science, I'm not sure what else about. How are we going to communicate that to the schools?
We're going to rely heavily on our athletic directors, our assistant principals, for teaching and learning, and our principals to make reasonable recommendations. We've been through really thin years where they wanted to ask for more, whether it be in staffing, whether it be in budgeting, whether it be in anything that we do. So I have great faith in our administrative team to bring valuable, realistic, and appropriate recommendations to me.
So to the parents that are, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Rogers.
Mrs. Rogers, Ms. Berry, I think with that being said, you and other parents, if there's an interest, it sounds like you definitely want to share that with your principals to make sure that they're aware that there's this interest and or come to a committee meeting, maybe when there's a time when if something has to be discussed, definitely follow the agenda to see that there's a discussion point, and, that maybe speaks to an interest that you or other parents are interested in, that definitely share your feedback with your principals so that they can take it into consideration.
Thank you.
Bring it to Dr. Chesney.
I followed the chain of command, and I did start with the principal.
I believe you did. I believe you have.
I think she's well aware
that
of my feelings.
I'm all good, I'm aware.
But that I'm not alone, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that you did. I believe you actually did the right thing. I think if there's other parents who are, you said that you were speaking with other parents at the volleyball events, I think share with them your experience and the feedback from this meeting, and in that way.
Well, it's one of the
regardless
reasons I
it's
didn't bring all the parents with me.
Yeah.
I wanted them.
But again, to show that interest to the principals, whether it's boys volleyball or maybe anything else, if that's what you're hearing in the community, have them share that information.
I think this could be advantageous too in other areas, and thinking about the club aspect of it. I get frustrated with how long it takes if we're going to offer a new class, it actually is 2 years before we kick it out. So some of these things, in my mind, I'm thinking these could be started as clubs, like the coding or programming or game applications or whatever, prior to the class being implemented. Get these clubs.
I'd just like to add something. Everybody hold on to their seats, because this rarely happens. I kind of agree with Mrs. Gleason that sports do change and do evolve over
Did you
time.
get that on tape?
Sports do evolve. I can remember being in this district as a student, and we had a robust gymnastics program pretty much at all of our schools, and that kind of faded out. I think by abolishing this, we at least give the community an opportunity to come up and stand and present, their feelings on how things have evolved in their world and what they see fit, at the feeder school level, and what they can bring to the secondary education. So, absolutely, I agree with you, Ms. Gleason.
I think the critical piece is we have to trust our administrators in the building. I don't want anybody to get the idea that if you just come to the board meeting and it'll be a pressure on the board, it's going to be approved, there's going to be process.
Sure.
We'll do our due diligence.
But at least they can have the opportunity, like these young ladies did, and stand up here and present their case to us.
Sure.
And it could possibly happen.
Well, what this does is remove the obstacle at the top of the pyramid.
Correct.
Takes it down a little lower.
Thank you for starting the conversation. And thank you, Judge Public, for coming out and showing your interest. That helps.
Get that right interest in the last 8 years. Volleyball.
Okay, Mr. Canning?
And this is to abolish. Aye.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.8 pertains to
That was from lacrosse.
Under resignations, Yanitza Zamora, Alicia Sims Jacobs, Michael Warshals. Under leave, Julia Spreadberry, Cornelius Crosley, and Leslie Van Slee. Under employment, Camille Scott Offord, Maria Cotter, Melinda Queen, Christina Caswenda, and Janet Narish. Board's Personnel Committee did not meet on December 12th. However, Dr. Kendall has reviewed these items, and they are now being presented to the full board for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Mr. Cannon. Any discussion?
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth, aye. Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Ms. Stearns?
Aye. Our announcements are as follows. Personnel will meet January 9th, 6:30 at the Ed Center. Finance also January 9th, 7 p.m. at the Ed Center. Teaching and Learning, Tuesday, January 10th, 6:30 at the Ed Center. And the next board meeting will be a Students and Leadership Board meeting at Oak Forest High School, 7 p.m. on January 17th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.